Okay, yeah, this is Richard Fields with this week's report from the fields. Liberalism used to be a philosophy that espoused the protection of individual liberties and economic freedoms. The early 20th century progressive movement and then Franklin Delano Roosevelt redefined liberal to exclude that economic freedom part. The word liberal was essentially stolen from actual liberals and used to describe the views of progressives, socialists, and eventually outright Marxists. Actual liberals had to coin a new term to describe their beliefs and philosophy. Thus, the term libertarian came into use to describe the beliefs of those of us who value both individual liberties and economic liberty. The palace coup that crowned Kamala Harris as the Democratic Party nominee for president has appropriated the word freedom, and in doing so has changed its meaning. The germ of the idea started with FDR's 1941 State of the Union address, where he posited that there were four freedoms: freedom of speech and expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. There are two kinds of freedom, actually: negative freedom and positive freedom. Negative freedom refers to what the government cannot take away from you or do to you: your life, your right to express yourself, your right to associate with people of your own choosing, your right to defend yourself against forceful aggression, your right to keep honestly earned property, your right to worship as you please, essentially those rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights, plus private property rights, which they unfortunately left out, and personal control over reproductive rights. Positive freedom, on the other hand, refers to what the government can give you. FDR's freedom from want and fear. Government itself produces nothing. People produce things. Government, therefore, has nothing to give to those in want or in fear. Therefore, all it can actually do is tax, another word for steal, from the group of people deemed not to be needy or fearful, to give to the group of people deemed to be needy or fearful. The Democrats under Kamala's banner have completely reversed the meaning of freedom. They claim freedom of speech and expression for themselves exclusively. Under the Biden administration, which obviously includes Kamala as vice president, they have effectively denied free speech to anyone who disagrees with their preferred narrative. The censorship by coercion of social media on different narratives on COVID, the Hunter Biden laptop, climate change, the war in Ukraine, and many other issues is a 180-degree turn from FDR's freedom of speech and expression. And he was no conservative. Their attempts to force woke lifestyle choices in all public institutions at the expense of traditional religious values negates freedom of worship. They're doubling down on FDR's positive freedoms of want and fear with crackpot ideas like price controls on food companies, which have profit margins of a whole 1 or 2%, and giving $25,000 to first-time homebuyers, which will just increase the prices of homes by that amount. Those are examples of positive freedoms. Expressed in non-political language, they want to be the fences that transfer stolen goods from the rich, in quotes, who don't vote for them anyway, to the poor who do. The mantra of freedom from fear at being shot at is just a clever way of trying to make the fundamental right to self-defense a freedom instead of a gross violation of freedom. We're witnessing the prophecy of George Orwell in 1984, where freedom is slavery. Kamala is also all in on continuing to support Ukraine in their futile war against Russia. I guess Orwell's war is peace also applies. And if the voters elect either Kamala or Trump, we'll have learned that ignorance is strength. That's this week's Report from the Fields. See you again next week.